The vault reopens just when it looked like the Sussex content machine had finally coughed its last breath. When the archive appeared emptied, the angles exhausted, the familiar beats worn thin, Meghan Markle reached back into storage, brushed the dust from an old hard drive, and hit play. Not softly. Not casually. This wasn't nostalgia. This was a release. A calculated flood. Children. Animals. Dancing. Pastels. Sunshine. A full sensory rinse timed with surgical precision, and of course, the timing was flawless because while the screen filled with splashing water, chalk drawings, giraffes chewing lettuce, and carefully framed domestic calm, Prince Harry was elsewhere. Not in Montecito. Not on the lawn. Not spinning to music. He was in London. In court. Facing a legal situation with consequences, gravity, and real-world stakes. Serious rooms. Serious people. Serious outcomes, and as that story threatened to dominate headlines, another narrative appeared, lighter, brighter, sweeter. Instagram didn't just receive content. It was saturated with it. A rollout. A sequence. A visual playlist designed to say one thing loudly without saying it at all. Look here instead. This wasn't posting. This was orchestration. A PR smoothie blended from old clips, softened lighting, and emotional cues meant to soothe, distract, and recenter attention while one half of the brand dealt with a potentially damaging chapter of reality. And that's why it deserves to be unpacked slowly, carefully, and without pretending any of this is accidental. The pool, the grandmother, and the vibe that missed the mark. The first image to surface was deceptively simple. A child in a pool. Laughter. Water. Sunlight. 4-year-old Lilibet splashing while Doria Ragland, Meghan's mother, appears in the frame. On paper, it reads wholesome. Multi-generational. Soft. Familiar, but the internet doesn't watch content the way PR teams expect it to. People observe. They pause. They replay. And almost immediately, something felt off. Doria wasn't engaged. She wasn't close. She wasn't attentive in the way viewers expect when a small child is in a deep pool. Physically distant. Emotionally absent. Her posture suggested obligation rather than joy, presence without participation. The kind of energy that doesn't lie, no matter how warm the lighting tries to make it. These weren't invasive questions people asked. They were instinctive ones. The kind that surface when someone invites millions of strangers into a moment and frames it as proof of normalcy, love, and safety. When you post it publicly, observation becomes inevitable, and then there's the background noise, the part not visible on screen but already circulating in whispers. For months, reports have suggested tension between Meghan and Doria. Disagreements over parenting. Over control. Over boundaries. International outlets have hinted at strain, particularly after Meghan publicly described her mother as a free spirit during lifestyle content, a phrase that sounded affectionate but landed like distant wrapped in neutral tones. So when that same mother appears on camera in a swimsuit, in a private family setting, with no indication she wanted that moment broadcast globally, the tone shifts. What could have been warmth begins to read as power. Not bonding, but ownership. A quiet assertion, this footage exists, and I decide where it goes, especially because Doria has never appeared to enjoy the spotlight. There are remarkably few candid images of her. She doesn't court attention. She doesn't lean into visibility. Which makes her presence here feel less like love and more like leverage. Then come the safety concerns. Where is the engaged adult? Who is actively watching the child? Why does the supervision feel passive rather than protective? Internet parents noticed instantly, and once that demographic locks in on something, the conversation is over. There is no walking it back, and hovering over it all is the smallest, strangest detail that refuses to go unnoticed: the child's appearance. The hair. Strawberry blonde in one clip, deeper red in another, lighter again elsewhere. Filters? Old footage? Lighting? No one can say for sure. But when a child's look shifts more dramatically than the brand message, it creates confusion, and confusion breaks immersion. Then came the background detail that no one could unsee once it was spotted: jars on a counter. Brewing Sun tea, not artisan. Not branded. Not the polished as ever aesthetic that's supposedly stocked and ready for lifestyle domination. Just regular tea bags floating in glass jars. The most ordinary, unstyled version of a product she's allegedly positioning herself to sell at scale. It would have been the easiest soft sell imaginable. A subtle placement. A quiet flex. Instead, it exposed something else entirely: haste. Recycling. Content assembled quickly to fill space, not to build narrative. If the goal was relatability, look, I drink normal tea, I mow my lawn, I'm just like you, the execution failed. Because relatability still requires intention. This didn't feel intentional. It felt reactive. Like something thrown together with one directive in mind: post something, anything, now. And when you miss the easiest branding win available, it doesn't make you charming. It makes you sloppier. Next, the scene shifts. Location change. New energy. The living desert zoo center Archie. Or rather, enter the back of a child's head, carefully framed, feeding leaves to a critically endangered black rhino. Privacy protected. Strategically angled. Just enough to say he's here without actually showing him. On the surface, this seems reasonable. Even commendable. Protecting a child's privacy is good. Necessary. Healthy, but consistency matters. Prince Harry has spoken repeatedly about keeping his children out of the public eye. About the damage exposure can cause. And yet, here they are, appearing in fragments. Limited releases. Seasonal glimpses. Faces blurred but presence monetised. Treated not as private individuals, but as accessories revealed when engagement dips. And again, the details unravel the illusion. The hair. Too uniform. Too saturated. Too red. Lighting? Filters? Perhaps. But when this image doesn't align with past appearances, present timelines, or even the family holiday card chronology, viewers draw conclusions. The simplest one being this: the footage isn't recent, the child looks smaller. Younger. The proportions don't match the present narrative. And suddenly we're asked to believe these moments are unfolding in real time, despite wardrobe changes, weather jumps, and near-instant transitions between home and zoo. It strains credibility. The dancing videos arrive next, and they arrive loudly, because one simply wasn't enough. A single clip might have been dismissed as indulgent nostalgia. 2 clips make it messaging. The first appears in black and white, allegedly filmed by Lilibet, showing Meghan and Harry spinning on the lawn, dipping, kissing, smiling with exaggerated ease, like a slow-motion memory meant to feel intimate and unrehearsed. It wants to signal love, playfulness, authenticity. What it actually signals is effort. Then comes the color version. Brighter. More energetic. Music layered in. The same lawn, the same movement, but now with an uncomfortable clarity. At one point, Meghan physically adjusts Harry's hand mid-dance, redirecting him the way a director blocks a scene. It's brief, but it's telling. Because once you notice it, the entire illusion collapses. This isn't romance. Romance doesn't need correction. This is performance. Carefully staged, emotionally loud, visually soft, and strangely empty. Nothing about it feels spontaneous. Nothing about it feels private. It feels like 2 people trying to convince an audience they're in love rather than simply existing in it. And then there's the claim that a 4-year-old filmed it. The framing immediately undermines that idea. The angle is too high. Too steady. Too intentional. It looks like it came from an adult standing back, not a child holding a phone at chest height. Even if we humor the possibility, there's a larger question lingering underneath. Why does every tender moment need to become content? Not everything has to be shared. Especially not when viewers have been clear, repeatedly, that this particular type of content doesn't land the way it's intended to. The feedback loop isn't subtle. The audience has spoken. And yet the posts keep coming, as if repetition will eventually produce a different reaction. Then the tone shifts again. Music changes. Visuals soften. We're shown groceries laid out neatly, surrounded by drawings. Apples. Avocados. Plants. Lines are clean. Pressure is consistent. Spacing is deliberate. The handwriting appears in clear, confident capital letters, YAY. You did it. We are asked, quietly, implausibly, to believe a 4-year-old made this. Anyone who has spent even a few minutes around children knows this isn't how they draw or write. There are no uneven strokes. No scribbles. No chaos. No experimentation. Just Pinterest-level minimalism and adult motor control. The drawings and the text belong to the same hand, and that hand is not a preschooler's. This isn't impressive. It's insulting. Not because creativity is bad, but because the audience is expected to suspend basic reality to preserve a narrative. And that narrative carries a faint but unmistakable edge of competitiveness. Somewhere beneath the surface, there's still a reaction to moments like Princess Charlotte playing the piano with Catherine, unforced, imperfect, undeniably childlike. So now Lilibet is framed as a filmmaker, an illustrator, a motivational note writer. Not just a child, but a prodigy. A symbol. A counter, and that's the problem. Children here aren't allowed to just be children. They're always doing something. Always framed as exceptional. Always deployed with a zoo footage returns, and with it, the visual hierarchy becomes impossible to ignore. Meghan appears in all white, sunglasses on, feeding letters to a giraffe. The kids are present, but peripheral. The camera lingers on her. The giraffe becomes a prop. The moment centers her completely. Most parents document their children interacting with animals. Here, the animal exists to interact with Meghan. Even the giraffe looks vaguely uninterested, chewing mechanically, as if wondering why this moment feels staged. And then there's the posture. The grip on the letters. The pose. Everything feels arranged. Nothing feels natural. It's framed as proof of good motherhood, but good parenting doesn't require constant evidence. Especially not evidence this laboured, and underneath it all, the pattern becomes impossible to ignore every time Harry travels to the UK. Every time there's a court case. Every time headlines threaten to turn negative or serious, this happens. A flood. Old footage reappears. Kids, love, animals, dancing. Wholesome imagery designed to flood the feed and dilute the news cycle. SEO bait. Algorithm management. Attention control. It's not subtle. It's not clever. And it's certainly not accidental. This isn't about sharing memories. It's about maintaining relevance. About ensuring no major headline exists without her image attached to it. About staying centered while someone else is momentarily out of reach. And the most telling part is that it no longer works. People aren't jealous. They're tired. Confused. Increasingly aware that what they're watching isn't life unfolding, but content being deployed. The spell is broken. Once that happens, no amount of sunshine or pastel chalk can restore it. Harry's trial will end. The legal chapter will close. The headlines will move on, as they always do. And eventually, this content will fade too, until attention drifts again, silence stretches too long, and the archive opens once more. Same formula. New timing. Different filters. A new year. Same performance.